Who here plays Mahjong and who here sews? And who here does Mahjong and sews? Because here is my version of a Mahjong tote bag. Now this is a 3-piece set. I'm going to show you in just a second, but I came up with this cute design. It has a mat holder on the side of it, kind of like a yoga mat vibe. And I also did a tiles bag and a racks bag, which is also fits right down into the tote. So it's not awkwardly sticking up or anything. And then the tote bag also has tons of room for other stuff too. So like you can throw your snacks or your purse in there as well. Also, this tote bag does not just have to be for Mahjong. It could be for really anything. And it has super durable straps on it. Okay, here's the tutorial for it. And the pattern will be out August 29th on Saturday. I'm starting with heavy duty canvas that I got from Hobby Lobby. And then the straps are navy and I got those from Amazon. They're in my storefront. And then of course my favorite floral print that's also from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to start by cutting everything out. Now this pattern does not call for a fusible fleece or any stabilizer. However, if you want a super structured bag, go for it. Add that to it. I was trying to make this easy and more costly for people to make, so I didn't want to use a ton of materials. I just wanted to use a really sturdy fabric. So I got all of my pieces cut out. We're going with the front and back panel, a bottom panel and 2 side panels, and then the liners cut the same way. You're going to need some elastic, and my straps are cut to different lengths and you're going to see why. And also we're going to add a little pocket inside for your Mahjong card. Let's start with the straps. I completely came up with this off the top of my head. I know it's kind of weird. It's a weird process. So bear with me because it turns out really cute. Overlap your elastic and your strap about 1 inch. And I'm using a zigzag stitch just to really get it secure in there. And we're going to do that to both sides. Next, I'm going to mark on the straps where I want to do the fold at the top of the strap. And then also where I want to do the casing for the scrunchy fabric that's going to go around the strap. So you can see here, I'm just wrapping the actual strap with one of the casing. I'm doing it inside out and then sewing that down all the way down one side of it, making sure I'm not sewing the strap in it. So the strap is just floating loose in there. And then I'm twisting this so that the seam is going to be on the back side of the strap. So when you sew it down, you're not going to be able to see it. And then we're going to make one seam right across the top of this, right where I had marked where I want the top of my little scrunchy part to go. And once you do that, this is where the magic happens, because all you have to do now is pull that fabric over and then pull it over onto that elastic too, but keep it scrunched up so you don't lose your elastic end. And then you're going to sew that down just so everything stays scrunched for you while you work on the rest of it. This is going to give the room for a mat to roll up and scrunch in there in those little straps. And also it's really cute and decorative. So we're going to repeat this on the other side of the same strap. By the way, this is going to go on the front of the bag. Got those two made already. Now I want to go ahead and do my fold in my strap and sew that down, because once you sew these onto the bag, it's really hard to do that at the end. You can, but it's kind of difficult. I'm changing out to blue thread and bobbin because I really want that to blend in where we've sewn the strap together, because the white would really stand out. So here we are with that strap all sewn together. Now it's ready to be placed on the front panel. I'm just marking where everything needs to go at the top and bottom so that I know where to start and stop my stitches. But remember, you're going to leave the part that has the elastic unattached to the bag so that you have room to put your mat in. I just like to kind of scrunch my fabric as I go. And then at the top, I'm going to do a zigzag stitch across the top just to make sure that strap is extra secure, because this Mahjong stuff gets very heavy. I'm also doing another zigzag stitch right where the strap and that elastic meet, and that's just going to give it some added support. And then of course I'm going to stitch down the bottom as well. That will also get stitched once we sew the bag together. All right, we're moving right along. This is what we're looking like. This is the front panel. Let's work on our back panel real quick. I did the straps the exact same way. However, instead of the elastic, I just let the strap go all the way down to the end. And then I'm also sewing that onto the back panel all the way down. There's no need to leave a gap in this part. All the other steps are exactly the same. You want to make sure you zigzag that on just so it has some extra security. And we're going to do the bottom as well. Again, that's going to get stitched in when we sew the bag together. Here are our two panels. We're ready to get the bag sort of structured together before we do the lining. So we're going to take our bottom piece and lay it right sides together. We're going to clip that and sew along that top edge right there, which is actually the bottom. I'm using about a 1/4 to 1/2 seam allowance. So you can see how the bottom is on attached right there. Now we're going to attach the back panel now. I just like to use clips because it helps me hold everything together and get over to the sewing machine without it moving. This is what it looks like so far. Now we just got to add our sides in. This part might seem a little bit tricky, but it's not at all difficult. You just kind of have to work with the fabric a little bit. So you're going to sew one side down. Again, we're doing right sides together. When you get to your turn where you're going to be sewing towards the bottom panel, you just want to turn your fabric in a way so it goes across the bottom, and then you want to spin your fabric again and go up the other side. Again, everything stays right side together at this point. Here is what we are looking at right now. Now we just got to add the other side panel following the same steps. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the bottom of those straps that were overhanging in there. We just don't want them to be bulky and pointy at the bottom. Let's work on our liner, but first we're going to do our pocket. You're going to place your 2 pocket panels right sides together, sew all the way around, but leave yourself a little gap on one of the sides so that you can turn your fabric right side out. Go ahead and poke your corners out, and then you want to do a top stitch along the top of it before you sew this down. So once you do that, you take it to your panel and measure your middle spot where you want your pocket to go, and then top stitch all the remaining 3 sides. And look at that, a perfect fit for your American Mahjong cards. Now we are going to want to add the rest of our panels here. You're going to follow all the same steps we did for the outer canvas part. You're going to flip that right side out, and then you're going to stick that liner inside the tote bag. At this point, your tote bag is wrong side out and your liner is right side out, and you're putting right sides together on the inside. So we're going to go around and clip everything in place. Make sure all your seams are matching up, and then we're going to sew around this. You're going to want to leave about a 6-inch gap so you can pull your project through, and I'm using about a 1/2 inch seam allowance here, and I'm making sure to open up my seams when I sew over them just to get rid of that bulk. As most of us, this is one of my favorite parts, which is turning the project right side out and seeing it for the first time. I'm going to go through and make sure that everything is all sewed up really nicely and there's no holes and I didn't miss anything. Poke my corners out, and then we're going to go through and line that fabric up evenly with the top edge. So you kind of have to roll it down with your thumbs and just use clips as you go. That'll help keep it in place, and then that will give us a nice way to top stitch this down, and it's going to look so finished out once you finish this step. We are so close to being done. There's one last thing we want to do. This step is completely optional, but I do think it gives it a more high-end look as a tote bag. On the outside, you're going to clip every seam together and sew it about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This is going to give the bag a little bit more structure, and it also encloses your liner fabric in so that it's not just flopping around on the inside. And look, we are all done. I just think this is so cute. It is a fun project to do, such a fun way to do straps and create something that is completely unique. You can use whatever fabrics you want. Let me know if you try it and tag me if you post it. Okay, bye.